In the 80s, China underwent important political, economic, and cultural changes. The open door policy promoted by Deng Xiaoping highlighted the gap between Western economic development and China's backwardness. As already happened with the arrival of the Jesuit missionaries in the 16th century, intellectuals had to face their own dilemma: comply with modernization, thus accepting Western culture, or preserve their traditions. Not even the Cultural Revolution, though promoted as an attempt to destroy the ancient world and create a new one, could find an ultimate and satisfying solution. In such an intellectual climate, the debate flew into cultural movements that promoted the need for modernization, but at the same time promoted the essence of Chinese culture, the only repository of national heritage. Thus proliferated publications, memorial events, and conferences on New Confucianism and modernization. This time, it was the government who promoted research on this topic. In 1986, New Confucianism was officially acknowledged in range of a national project on social sciences. So in the 80s, we witnessed an imitation of the Western economic and cultural model. 1989, we have the Tiananmen massacre, a reaction against the government slogan advocating democracy and the myth of America. And in the 90s, we had the achievement of Chinese cultural and ideological identity. In 1986, New Confucianism was acknowledged in range of national project on social sciences. Crossing geographical and political borders since the 80s, New Confucianism played an important role in the destruction of cultural and political barriers dividing intellectuals of China and those living in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and the United States. Actually, New Confucians, rather than suggesting new philosophical orientations and metaphysical theories, were above all inclined to assert the universal value of Confucianism. Starting from the theories of man, nature, and destiny, which they adopted from their predecessors, they asserted the absolute value of Confucianism for the whole mankind. In the 90s, a new word appeared, 中华性 Chineseness. It was promoted by the acquisition and interpretation of postmodern and post-colonial theories. Chineseness means the nature and the essence of being Chinese. So this theory, the theory of Chineseness, aimed at putting the values of Chinese culture before Western modernity. The economic boom in China and in Far East countries stimulated the revival of the culture of China, in which the Chinese claimed a central role. The concept of Chineseness assumes a more assertive tone. The protection of Chinese culture and national value evolved towards the will to spread Chinese culture in the whole world. A sign of this effort to export and spread Chinese culture all over the world is the establishment of the Confucian Institute all over the world. The mission of this institute, founded under the aegis of Chinese University, is to promote the spread of Chinese culture and language. The first goal is to show resistance to Orientalism, to this old notion of Orientalism. That is to say, the Western interpretation of the Orient and China since the 17th century, so the interpretation given by the Jesuits. And this, in 1994, From Modernity to Chineseness, this was a publication by a group of intellectuals, among whom Wang Lichuan and Zhang Yiwu. And here, in this photo, which I borrowed from Stefano Micheli, you can admire an example of Chineseness and modernity by the contemporary artist Yang Lian. If you look, this is an example of the traditional Shanshui painting. If you view Yang's photograph at a distance, it looks like Shanshui painting, but if you come close to it, it becomes a modern city view. And this is the traditional painting, which one of the traditional paintings similar to the modern painting, but is more contemporary artist. This dates back to the 13th century. And now coming back to China's reaction against the West, in 1996 a book was published entitled China Can Say No, Political and Emotional Choices After the Cold War, which was edited by some Chinese intellectuals and poets, among whom Sun Qian. In a recent article entitled America is no longer the religion of China, Xi explained that in the last 15 years, the school of the Communist Party has exhorted to cohesion and harmony in the country. After the financial crisis of 2009, the school of the Communist Party has tried to build an autonomous corpus of thought for the political leadership. In November 2009, a few days before the arrival of Obama, the official agency, Xinhua, announced that Xi Jinping, one of the leading members of the Republic and the secretary of the Communist Party, president of the Communist Party School, pointed out the need to study the socialist theory with Chinese characteristics and apply the values of socialism. This meant that the Chinese government is no longer willing to receive lessons of politics and ethics today.